Hello and welcome to Fireside with a VC. My name is Andrew Romans, and I'm excited to have Niran Shrestha, who is the founder and CEO of Kwant AI. Before we get going, I'll just quickly introduce Kwant AI is a New York City-based SaaS, software as a service, and IoT business focused on the construction industry. They've been, I guess, Niran, we've known each other for quite some time now, and I'm obviously friends with your early investors and even some of your angels. And I'm super pumped to announce that we finally invested and joined the tribe as an investor in your latest round. So welcome to the podcast. Thanks for making time, buddy.
Thank you so much, Andrew. Yeah, and thanks for participating in the round. I'm super excited about the next phase and to share more about our story with you in this podcast.
Fantastic. So Niran, tell us, what does Kwant AI do? What do you guys do?
So Kwant AI basically collects real-time data from construction site about people, assets, and materials, and provides actionable insight in terms of safety, schedule delays, and cost overrun. So we're making sure that these large-scale construction projects like airports, hotel, hospitals, or electric vehicle factories are delivered on time and with less waste and safer workforce.
Right. And so we're talking about big construction sites like the Delta Terminal at JFK, or give some examples of some of the construction sites and like the scope, or like how many workers are on site at a given moment.
Yeah, so construction industry basically has about 50% of the total cost is spent on labor. It's a pretty massive amount of money that is currently spent on workforce. In a $1 trillion industry in the US alone, you're spending about $500 million on the workforce, actually. $500 billion on the workforce.
$500 billion on the labor of these people, and you guys are bringing tech into that.
Exactly, right?
Yeah.
And workforce is what makes hardworking men and women in the society are building these airports like we fly through, or all the electric vehicle factories or plants like self-driving car factories. All these are built by these hardworking men and women, right? So I basically came from that industry, and the scale of the projects that we're currently working are primarily large scales. So we are working on LaGuardia Delta Terminal that has about 1,500 workers on average every day, which is actually coming down. It used to have about 3,000 workers at some point. And then we are also working on.
By the way, we've had an office in New York City for the last 15 years, and I grew up there, and no wonder the traffic is so bad. You got 3,000 people coming in and out of there just to be on the construction site.
Yeah,
it's insane. That's insane.
Yeah,
obviously a lot of money. If you can just move that a little bit in the right direction, you're adding value.
Exactly. So we benchmark, we've done case studies around where we were able to increase the productivity by 11%.
11%.
Yeah, 11%. Now in a multi-billion-dollar projects like these airports, 11% increase in productivity could mean multi-millions of dollars in like savings for LaGuardia, and ultimately like taxpayers' money, and somebody to have better benefits. So it's a massive opportunity. Workforce production rate and safety is a massive opportunity, and we're excited to be working on these large-scale projects, even including we're working on the EV factory and battery factories for General Motors right now. They have about 600 to 800 workers on average per day, but we're also there's multiple scales. We have a project in Mexico that has about 4,000 workers, and they're building the factory for our Modelo beer.
Okay, you're gonna make sure they don't screw that up. And I like the, on your sales cycle when you're selling into the clients, I like the safety pitch, right? Like, talk about like what kind of accidents happen on these sites without you guys, and what is the expense that the construction company gets stuck with? I mean, not to mention the tragic loss of life or injuries, but talk about that, because I thought that was a bit of a puppy dog sell to get them to begin to say, okay, at a minimum, we're ready to spend this much money a year with Kwant if it can help us on reducing accidents, injuries, and like what's the expense there?
Yeah, so construction is second largest in terms of fatalities in all the industries in the US.
What's the first?
Transportation.
Okay.
So on average, about 4 people die in the US every day. That's about 1,200 workers in a year in construction. It's a pretty seriously, like, number of people that are having accidents. That's just fatalities. So you can expect to have an accident on a job site when there is more than 300 workers. It's like, OSHA has a mandate that after a certain number of workers, you must have a full-time safety person on the site, basically. Like,
right.
So, but one safety guy cannot manage, the entire airport. Like, it's a lot of work. So what we are providing is that overarching view of the site, which can do both. There's a proactive alerts and there is faster response time in something that happens, in case something happens. So safety is a big thing, and so primarily on the safety side, we're able to detect if a person is showing some anomaly in their behavior. Like, he's jumping from a height that is not allowed to.
Niran, maybe it'd be useful for listeners to understand, how does this work? I mean, explain the badge and the software and how you are even collecting data to begin to run it through your machines.
I'm going to have to show you an example of a badge, actually. So this part might need to be edited later on, but okay. So this is a smart badge that each construction worker on our job site is equipped with.
And by the way, for those that are just listening to this, Niran is holding up what looks like a Visa card in a little plastic pouch.
Yes. So this small but mighty pouch, a smart badge, we call it, has a lot of functionality inside of it. So this acts as an ID card of a person. So he can actually use this badge to get in out of a job site, and has also its identification on it. And you can store his credentials, his OSHA certificates, training certificates, and it has a press to call for help, the live call. Double tap, and it'll send an immediate alert to the safety manager on a job site or whoever is responsible for to come and rescue you, and it'll tell you accurately which area that accident happened. So that's one way that this works.
And what's the wireless protocol you're using? So everyone gets their badge. It's like a smart card kind of thing.
Yeah.
And it's got comms in it. What's the wireless that you use to send and receive data to these IoT devices?
Yeah. So very good question. On a lot of these sites, there is no cellular connectivity. So one of the reasons why we've been able to scale so fast is because we used a local network called LoRaWAN, is also called LPWAN, low powered wide area network. It's very popular these days. Like, it's been used on multiple logistical, like in industrial facilities. LPWAN allows you to cover up to 5 miles in a given site. Like LaGuardia is covered by 1 gateway, General Motors is covered by 2 gateways. So you can cover a large area, and that basically communicates with this. The information from here is communicated with the gateway in real time, and without having to add any infrastructure or network connectivity.
Okay, so just wirelessly walk onto the site, and we know what's going on with this guy.
Exactly. Yeah. So this badge actually comes with accelerometer, so you can understand if the person is actually showing an anomaly in his behavior. And also, so our version 2 badges also have temperature humidity, so it can also detect if somebody is working in a very high heat area. We are able to alert him that you need to actually take some rest, because high heat can also cause him and fatigue, or can lead to some accident, actually. And the other safety part is, a lot of accident happens when people are walking around an area when you're not supposed to be. Like something heavy is flying above, like steel is flying, or elevator is flying above it. So this will tell you when you're entering a restricted zone, so it can prevent you from entering that zone. The badge will start buzzing once you enter those zones. So it's a real-time alert rather than having to wait for somebody to call you or somebody to realize that actually.
Okay. And, it's impossible to calculate the loss of your father, brother, son, whatever, or daughter, sister. But how do people understand the economic value? And like at this point, you guys have been around for a while. You've got some big customers. You're billing millions of dollars a year. What is understood to be the savings or the benefit or the monetary? Like, how are they monetarily putting this in a spreadsheet when they're using you guys or not using you guys?
Yeah, that's a very good question as well. So we've done multiple case studies on this as well. One simple way is each accident in the U.S. Is costing a construction work company $37,000.
Right.
So, like, if you're saving 4 or 5 accidents in a year, which we do more than that,
Right.
you're covering the cost of our technology.
Right. So that was like the puppy dog sale. Like if I were selling this myself, I'd be like, let us come in and audit how many accidents you're having here.
Yeah.
And how do you benchmark against everybody else? We'll confidentially give you that free McKinsey consulting.
Yeah.
Okay, well, if you're anything like everybody else, this is how many of these we can deflect a year, which makes you a way cooler place to work. And this is what you're making money if you're paying us X amount on that alone before we get into this 11% or whatever percent efficiency, which is probably the big money.
Yeah, exactly. We've done case studies where we've been able to reduce the safety incidents drastically and save, before and after scenarios. Before Kwant was implemented, the number of safety incidents, and after, and that just justified, how many accidents was prevented in 1 year alone.
Okay, cool. And then when you're and tell us what else the overall solution does. You've got these badges collecting all this information, and then you've got this entire kind of software AI backend as well.
Yeah, so primarily collecting real-time data is like, how, we call it Fitbit for construction, where we're collecting real-time positioning and location and vitality of the worker, and that basically feeds into our software, and the software basically analyzes the patterns on worker movements, a number of workers, where the workers were supposed to be, how many workers are actively working, and benchmarking that against schedule. How is the schedule progressing, and that basically determines your production rate actually. So and we're able to then use our AI engine to then predict how many workers are needed for next month or for your entire project, so you can optimize that workforce rather than having less workers, which will lead you to delay, or having more workers, which could lead you to spending more money than necessary, and also having more workers can also lead to accidents as well. So because you're cramming a lot of workers in a single place. And that's how we're able to optimize the production rate by being able to accurately forecast that resources that is required for. So every week right now, we're projecting the workforce required for LaGuardia Airport, so that the team over there is able to plan their month ahead and find out where are my critical activities going on, which trade needs to bring how many workers, and so they have an opening coming up in a few months actually, and they're able to hit that milestone, and we're very excited to be part of that.
Okay, so if you were to summarize, what are some key pain points that Kwant is addressing for these construction companies?
So we categorize our key pain points into 4. And it's also the ROI we're providing to these companies. So right. First and simple one is data collection. Now, imagine LaGuardia Airport or General Motors factories. You have about 2,000 workers, like let's say average walking around in this 5 miles of area. And OSHA and there's a lot of CT mandate that requires you to have the total number of workers on a job site every day. It also is required from a compliance and risk management perspective for insurance purpose. You need to know who was there, how long they were there as well, actually. Our information, our smart badges can collect that data in real time and reduces at least 20 hours a week of a foreman going and doing the reporting, actually. So that's a minimum basic thing, actually. Second is the pain point of having all these safety incidents. We've seen reduction in safety incidents by 7 or 8% already right now in some projects. And faster response time. Our system is able to provide faster response to safety incident by 92%.
Wow.
So it's on the safety side. And the third one is the being able to proactively make decisions on where are the key risks on this high profile mega billion-dollar projects. And we're able to deliver these values to these owners, like real estate owners or owners like airport owners, to have them open the airport or these factories on time, because each day they don't open these factories, they're actually losing money, right? Airport doesn't open for one day, you're losing flights, and so using AI to predict these delays is what we're providing as well.
Okay. And with your solution, with the caliber of kind of blue chip customers that you have, one of the things I was excited about we have LPs from all over the world, that like this would work as easily in Kuala Lumpur as it would in Jamaica, New York, where our JFK is. Like your business kind of has no border limits. How do you think as an entrepreneur about focus domestic in the US market or go international? Are you following your existing customers wherever they're going? What are your thoughts on that strategy decision?
Yeah, I mean, we're super focused right now on the US market because there's so much opportunities here. And we've also expanded internationally into companies that are performing, like US-based companies have, massive sites in Mexico or Canada that we're also working. So we have a massive project in the Modelo factory in Mexico, and they're expanding right now. It's a pretty big area, and so that's a massive opportunity there. We're working with, and we're also doing a project in Brazil. Brazil is a big opportunity for infrastructure as well as a lot of mining and oil and gas. So that's something that we're actually actively working on a Brazilian project right now. And in terms of expansion, we've been approached by companies all over the globe, and we are running some pilots on there right now. Our next expansion is probably going to be in Asia, like in Singapore, where we have a big Fortune 500 company that is expanding us to Asia and Singapore. And we also have strategic partners in Middle East and Saudi Arabia, where we are also looking to expand, at one step at a time.
Okay. And on international, I was going to ask this question later, but we might as well talk about it now. You're originally from Nepal, although you've been in New York City for some time. What's your journey been like Google, you wouldn't be the first immigrant to build an amazing company in the United States, but what's your journey? Maybe how's that been for you, landing here and raising capital in the United States?
Yeah, it's been great. I mean, I think that we've found really good partners and like people like you and Unshackled, who focuses on immigrant founders.
Yeah, I love those guys.
Yeah, it would have been a little bit tough without them in a way, because there's definitely some work we need to do here to enable immigrants to start their own businesses. But I came from Nepal and went to Columbia University for my master's degree, and I wanted to start the business like all the time, actually, and it took me a couple of ways to steps to get there. And but as immigrant, I kind of feel that without these partners like Unshackled and everything, it would have been hard actually.
Yeah, we should get you talking to the Chowdhury Group in Nepal if we haven't already. We probably talked about that a long time ago. Are you talking to the Chowdhury Group?
I have not actually, but I'm familiar with them.
Yeah. We should let's remember to follow up on that. And so, how did you tell me about recruiting your team?
Yes. So right now, what we've achieved has been done with a very small team. But very small and efficient team. Uh, we've got a great engineering team and great customer support and product team and data science team. So right now we're expanding fast. Now that we've closed around, we're actively hiring for multiple roles. Roles are going to be on primarily focus on expansion and sales. And that's somebody we're looking for, and more like who has done enterprise expansion in industrial vertical, manufacturing, as well as construction. That's the kind of key person we're looking for right now. And then we're looking for operations.
And international will be a bonus if they have experience, just because the nature of this is getting international so fast.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
So and also that international is definitely there because we're actively talking to like big oil mining companies and oil and gas companies in different parts of the country already, different parts of the world. And I think that's where our next step is. And that how Middle East and Saudi Arabia kind of has a pretty big, infrastructure movement going on there right now. So that's one. Then on the internal, we're looking for more operations and strategy, and then more engineering stuff, just to keep on building more great product.
Okay, and the core team is in Brooklyn, right? But
Exactly.
I guess for a lot of these roles, what's your attitude to everybody's got to work in the same room, or it's global by nature? What's your attitude?
I kind of feel that we are still more, in person thing, but especially at a very like VP roles. But we have a few guys in California right now, and we're open to all remote roles as well, actually. Yeah.
Okay, and thinking of the people that are going to come on board doing biz dev and strategic sales with the company, with Kwant.
Mm-hmm.
What is the mindset of selling into the construction industry? Do you find that they are slow to move? I think they historically are, but then again, software is eating every industry, and entrepreneurs don't ignore the biggest of all industries with construction. At the same time, there's kind of a lot of noise. I mean, it's my whole career, there's always been entrepreneurs telling me, we're going to take this big construction industry that's this big and stick it all on your iPad and digitize everything. And VCs probably confuse you with these other companies. That's even another story of how do you cut through the noise with investors who you're part of a value chain, but they would think you're competitors. But what do you find the adoption level of your target customer audiences that wants to hear about your solution and how you're using tech?
Yeah. So right now, I think the construction industry has definitely evolved a lot, in last 10 years. And we've seen from multiple directions here, right? Where we've seen companies like Procore going public, and billions of dollars of acquisition going on right now from Autodesk, Oracle. So, and all that's happened in the last 10 years because Autodesk and Oracle and Procore has seen the adoption rate increase so much, right? And so there's definitely a lot of momentum, and adoption rate has, for the right technology, there is a lot of people are hungry for new technologies, primarily because of labor shortages, as well as this whole push to build better infrastructure. And as the new generation of workforce is coming into the construction industry, they're well equipped to use any tool right now. They're not coming there to use just spreadsheet and paper based. They are going to school to learn these new technologies like BIM, 3D modeling, like drones, and and so right now there's a huge transformation happening. But is the sales cycle is pretty fine. I think if you have to find the right partner and right, right um, champion in that team to like basically push that to the next level to show that initial case study, and because we have demonstrated values, in different sites already, different companies already, we present that to them and say, look, they've already achieved 11% increase in productivity by
That's
doing this.
huge. I mean, like, you put that in a spreadsheet, it's a big number
Yeah,
to save 11%. And if they then adopt you on their other projects over the next 18 months,
yeah, exactly.
I mean, I thought it was I was impressed when I saw some of your own customers investing in the company, like making an investment, and then you're able to understand functional requirements that are really important to a real live customer that would apply equally to the other,
Exactly.
other customers.
Yeah.
Okay. And what's your experience been with VCs understanding it? Like I was saying before, I was an entrepreneur for, I'd raised a couple, like over 300 million for 3 different startups. And I found a lot of times VCs were trying to put me, whatever deal I had, into some quadrant and then put me in that box and with other companies that I was not necessarily competing with. Like maybe we even work with them. What's your journey been in VCs understanding what you do or misunderstanding what you do?
Yeah, I think you have to live it to really understand the whole and the company, right? So it's normal that people looking at from a high level perspective, compare us with project management softwares, like Procore,
Right,
uh,
right.
right? And
That's
it's like,
that's when I
right?
talk to VCs about you guys, I get that kind of quickly, and I'm like, dude, slow down. Let me explain this to you. It's so
Yeah,
elegant and simple.
yeah. So there's whole right now like project management softwares, and then the other part is where they're comparing us against comparing against like other kinds of data collection companies like drone companies, let's say, right? Or
Yeah.
or camera companies, like, so that's the two clear confusion they get all the time, actually, like,
And by the way, there are so many of those. If you
yeah,
squint your eyes, you can't tell them apart.
yeah,
And
exactly.
you go to any demo day of any accelerator, you're going to get 2 of those.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I think that we are really unique position uniquely because we come from the whole perspective of workforce. Uh, starting as a workforce, although we do collect data about work in place, materials and everything, and we're using real time data, and I think and getting the insights is where we are focused on. Like the insights part, actionable insights on saving time and money is what, and I think we're the only company to do that. So um, yeah, it's a pretty massive industry, and I think that just as I mentioned in the beginning, right, 50% of the construction cost is spent on labor, and if you're able to optimize that, it's a $1 trillion problem, actually.
Right, right, right. And I don't know how much of this is confidential, but obviously we've spoken about this many times, but you guys are beginning to integrate into more data sets and increase the value you're able to deliver. Are you able to talk about any of the product extensions that you're planning on delivering and beginning to do for your founders or
Yes,
your customers?
yes. So we are so right now we have built integration with like major best of breed solutions that are in the market, like Autodesk or Procore or Oracle or Microsoft. Like that feeds into our data engine where we are able to collect this data and train our AI model to do these predictions, basically. So that's currently what we already do. The next step where we're working towards is also feeding in data from cameras, so that can all add an additional layer of intelligence to it, and then connecting this with your other output systems, like your HR management systems, like which company and which trades are actually have a higher efficiency if I'm to select them. That's so you can feed into HR system, or you can feed into payroll system,
Yeah,
where each of
payroll.
these
Yeah,
badges are able to validate payroll, and like we're already validating payrolls of multiple companies right now, and that could be one angle eventually in the future, where because if eventually tying something with payments becomes a pretty massive leverage for us as well.
Right. Now, if somebody made me the president or dictator of the United States, I would stimulate the economy in different ways than they're doing. But the government is spending a lot of money on infrastructure. How is Quant positioned to capture any of this massive, biggest unprecedented spending spree in the US government history?
Yeah, we're very excited. So I think one of the things I tied back to is back in Nepal. I came from Nepal where I didn't have much infrastructure, by the way. I know it's an amazing country. And I've been to the mountains of Nepal, like many, many mountains of Nepal. And all you can do is to fly there on a helicopter. And the helicopter also lands on a grass, basically, and I've enjoyed working on those environments. And that's what one of the things that really fascinates me about construction and infrastructure. And that's one of the reasons why I also chose to build a company in infrastructure and construction, is because the impact that infrastructure has in a society is so massive. In the US, we take it for granted that we can go from here to San Francisco in a train or by driving.
Yeah.
But in many countries, like in Nepal, you cannot. It's such a small country. You cannot drive from one end to the other end in probably 6 days, actually.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, we're really excited about what we're already doing. Fortunately, we have got really good partners and investors and advisors who came from this industry, who are actively working in some of these infrastructure projects as advisors, actually. So Michael Giarmita, one of our advisor, an investor, actually is a consultant to these large-scale infrastructure projects, and we're working with him on some of these opportunities right now. And interestingly, this infrastructure bill has upgrading infrastructure, airports, and like that. We're also looking at, we're talking to multiple airports right now. And the other one is their electric vehicle factories. And fortunately, we're actually on multiple electric vehicle factories. So, and we're actually discussing with a couple of two of the biggest ones right now. I don't know if but those are the two big ones. And so infrastructure, both EV as well as the airports and roads are the two big ones, and we're very excited about that.
When you talk about the impact of building infrastructure in Nepal, very early in my career, I was selling fiber optic cables, and we actually would do the construction and everything end to end. So we'd sell you the cables, sell you the pipes. And often when they were digging up a highway, if they were laying down a highway, if you're going to excavate everything, you might as well put fiber optic cable underneath the highway. And you might as well put like 40 empty pipes that you can later blow the cable into.
Yeah.
And I remember, even for me, I would have to drive from Ljubljana to Maribor, Slovenia. It's like a tiny country, but to get, once that highway was up and running, you're like flying. And the same things happen to me in Indonesia. Like you're on the highway and you're like, whoop, whoop. And then all of a sudden the highway ends because they're still making it.
Yeah.
And it's back to moped disaster to get to where you're going. So that is a huge deal. But yeah, it's key to get in on those big projects for you guys. It just seems like a limitless land grab. We just need to make the right moves of hiring the right people, getting these contracts, raising the next funding round, to be able to 11% improvement on a large project is just a big number. And the safety bit, I think it's a great way to open the door, and get a trial in place and see how much they want to pay to keep it. So listen, so we talked about who you're looking to hire already. I'll close with this kind of question I like to ask people. This could be on business, on technology, on society. What are you optimistic about these days? The news will get you all depressed. What are you optimistic about?
Yeah, I'm optimistic about the whole sustainability right now. We're moving towards the direction, and we're excited to be working with some of these companies, that are pushing that limit. I'm excited about workforce. We're also, workforce training, workforce, onboarding for is a big thing, and our software actually can help, store that data and manage that workforce management as well. So it's basically both in terms of, providing better jobs and employments to people and then making society more cleaner.
Yeah, I mean, it's an example of there's really no industry that technology can't make things better. And this is just one of the biggest industries doing that. Niran, listen, congratulations on closing this round that we've just done. And I look forward to working closely with you on the next one and building this business together. So super psyched. Thanks so much and talk to you real soon.
Thank you so much, Andrew.
Okay, Niran, bye for now.
Bye.